while we were living in that little apartment, our bishop, who was Lamont Toronto, who was also Secretary of the State of Utah, um, asked him to be the ward clerk. If there's anything I leave out, you let me know. But anyway, that was neat. He loved that. It was a harder job than it is nowadays, because they had to,
well, the
these
records
big,
we kept
books instead of.
It was like these big genealogy books, you know, that are long. It's got little bolts over here that hold the lid down, and that's what we had. That thick of everybody in the ward had a sheet in there with all their financial records, and that's what we used to keep the record. We didn't have computers in those days.
Think of the difference.
So
amazing.
we had to have that book. It was always on the bishop's table. Whenever anybody come in for any kind of a payment of tithing or anything like that, why, it had to be entered in that book by longhand in pencil.
In the meantime, also Bishop Toronto was a realtor, and he came to us one time, said this woman in the ward had died that owned this little home that I think we showed some of you.
I think we've driven by before and showed you the house.
Yeah,
Brick house with a awning on it.
Red and white awning.
Anyway, and wondered if we'd be interested in it, and oh my gosh, she's about died. We wanted it so bad. So
that house cost us $12,000.
Imagine. Had a nice little yard and garage. And it, it was old. Even then, it was probably 30 years old, wasn't it?
Oh, honey, I'll bet it was 60 years old then.
Do you think? He made a little bedroom down the basement for Lynn, but she was quite young and she didn't like it too well being down there alone. But anyway, I was in the hospital giving birth to Shelley at this time. So the Relief Society people came and they helped Daryl move all the furniture over there and had that house all fixed up for me when he came and got me and Shelley. Of course, he had Jerry Lynn there and brought me home to my new home. If that wasn't exciting, oh my gosh. I mean, it had all the features that none of our parents had, like the fireplace and then
downstairs.
Yeah, and it had the dining room, a formal dining room. And in the kitchen there was a little table and chairs and stuff that we could eat our breakfast and stuff with. But we entertained in that dining room because when he was then put in as bishop, we had people over. I guess before that we did too. And so it's just neat. We had Dal there and Ruth Ann there. So we had the 4 children there. And got a lot of good experiences because, when Bishop was released, he was put in as bishop. And he had a few people that was kind of ornery about him.
Well, I was just a young whippersnapper.
He was 24 years old, so they just thought that was ridiculous. Who would ever think he should be bishop? And one was a relative. It was actually Elaine, my sister's.
A shirt-tail relative.
Her husband's uncle lived just up the street from us.
2 doors up the street. And we just noticed the other day in the paper, Jerry saw that one of his sons had just died, and we knew the kid. We called him Dick Windward. But he just died here not too long ago.
That father was an ornery son again, and he didn't have anything to do with Daryl.
Oh, he was something else. He told his wife one day, they were from up in Cache Valley, but they lived in Salt Lake then, and he was a veterinarian. And he told his wife one day, I'm going to Logan. If you want to go with me, you be ready in 10 minutes. I'm leaving.
She had to get all the kids ready and get all the stuff together, and played around.
He was sitting in the car waiting for her. She opened the door of the house she was walking out the door, and he saw her, and he drove off and left her and went to Logan.
And he did things like that apparently more than we even knew before, and then even after. And she had spent a little time in the mental hospital. I don't know. I feel bad. This is going on record, and it kind of worries me. I don't want Elaine to ever see it. She knew about that though and everything, but we'll get off that subject. You want? Is there anything specific when you were a bishop that you could tell, other than announcing to everybody when I was expecting?
When Amy was being blessed.
That wasn't in that church, so I was always thinking it was Salt Lake, but it wasn't. Anyway.
How long did you live in Salt Lake?
Oh, when did I go to school?
4 years. Probably 4 years.
When we moved to Provo to go to school at BYU, what year was that, Jerry?
Oh my gosh. Well, all right. When was Ruth Ann born? How old is she? I can't remember.
I don't know. Dal was just a brand new kid.
He was just a little guy, but Ruth Ann was younger. See, because when we moved down to Lakeview in Provo area, Jerry Lynn was starting. She went to kindergarten. The bus would pick her up. And
Well, how old's Dal now?
50. Don't you know?
I don't know.
He would have been about a year old, maybe a year and a half.
Yeah, because when we moved there, he wore your big old boots and cowboy hat and plonked around in them and played in the sand for hours and hours out there. 'Cause we'd have a
He'd sit
train
there
that
and watch
came
that
by,
train.
and he'd watch that train.
This was down in Lakeview, and he'd watch that train go by, and sit there. Oh.
But we were expecting Patty in that house, and we decided, 5 kids, that was a little crowded. So we bought a house in Orem